So one of the studies I saw recently was about vitamin C and recovery. This was a meta-analysis. So vitamin C, it's a well-known antioxidant. We've talked about antioxidants on the show quite a bit in the past. Very common thought here is that high-dose vitamin C supplementation will reduce oxidative stress and inflammation caused by training, and theoretically this would improve recovery and performance. And so the idea is if you're training like crazy and you're causing all this oxidative stress and inflammation, if you could take this vitamin C, it would attenuate some of that, mitigate some of that, so you could get back into the gym earlier and train harder because of those theoretical recovery benefits. So recent meta-analysis put this theory to the test. They looked at the effect of vitamin C supplementation on lipid peroxidation, and that's indicative of oxidative stress. They also looked at interleukin 6 or IL-6, which is a marker of inflammation. They looked at creatine kinase. They looked at C-reactive protein, cortisol. They also looked at soreness and strength recovery after some pretty intense exercise bouts. So what they found here, cutting right to the results, there was a small reduction in lipid peroxidation and IL-6 in response to vitamin C supplementation. And again, this is a meta-analysis, so they looked at several studies that all looked at those particular outcomes. What's interesting, though, so starting out, you think, okay, well, that supports the theory, right? We're going to reduce oxidative stress and inflammation. That's going to improve all these different aspects of recovery. What's really interesting is that the other outcomes were not significantly impacted in a meaningful way. And so what we saw there is that there were these modest reductions in markers of oxidative stress and inflammation. However, that didn't actually translate over into the things we really care about as a lifter, right? So if you ask them, are you more sore or less sore? Soreness was not impacted in a meaningful way. Same thing when it comes to the actual recovery of strength performance after those intense exercise sessions. So, this is something that came up in the antioxidant article that I wrote a few months ago for Stronger by Science. And, we looked a little bit at some of the research. There is some research indicating that really high dose vitamin C could theoretically blunt hypertrophy to a small degree. That evidence is inconsistent and the effect doesn't seem to be huge. So a lot of people are out there worried about if I have too much vitamin C in my diet, is it going to hurt my gains? The answer is probably not. And if it does have an effect, it's going to be pretty small. But the research there is pretty mixed. But one of the things I brought up in the article is a good question would be, why are you doing this high dose vitamin C supplementation in the first place? Because what we see looking at the literature, and this meta-analysis kind of supports this contention, is that while it might not necessarily kill your gains, there just doesn't seem to be much of a good reason to do it. This perceived benefit, this idea that it's going to, completely change your ability to adapt to training and get you back in the gym quicker and stronger, it just doesn't seem to pan out in the studies that actually directly assess that question. So I'm still not convinced that you need to worry that if your vitamin C increases above a certain threshold from food sources that's going to have any bearing on your ability to grow in response to training. However, I just don't see a really compelling reason for a healthy individual to be using this high dose vitamin C as a recovery aid. If you're interested in using some kind of antioxidant based supplement for recovery, there's much better evidence for things like tart cherry juice. There are some kind of polyphenol based like pomegranate blends and watermelon juice blends that have a bunch of other active phytonutrients in them that seem to have better effects on actual recovery.
And even like turmeric or
yes,
curcuminoids.
Yeah, there are a lot of a lot more of these kind of phytonutrient packed supplement blends that are based on, like I said, turmeric, curcumin, pomegranate, watermelon, tart cherry, and they just seem to perform better in terms of the actual tangible recovery parameters we care about. Soreness, and are you back to full strength quicker? So if you want to go that direction and you're interested in some kind of antioxidant supplementation that might relate to enhanced blood flow, enhanced recovery, something like that, I would encourage you to check out that Stronger by Science article, strongerbyscience.com/antioxidants. I go into some of the details. And one of the most important things, this is something that came up in the Betaine article as well. Whenever possible, I try to recommend dietary swaps that would achieve the same effect rather than buying a new supplement and going out of your way and spending a bunch of money. So when it comes to betaine, I think there are ways to get some more betaine into your diet without necessarily buying a supplement. It takes a little bit of effort. There's some specific foods that are pretty high in betaine, but the same thing goes with these different antioxidant-based approaches to recovery. There are some foods that just deliver a ton of antioxidants with a variety of other phytonutrients just naturally present in the food. And so if you're interested in seeing what some of those foods are, you can go to strongerbyscience.com/antioxidants and check those out.